9 times out of 10, they're probably going to tell you some pretty good ideas on how to make it work. And then
Hmm.
it's their idea and they'll own it. Those are the best ideas when
Yeah.
someone comes to you with something that was theirs and it works and they own it. And it's like, what a cool victory.
Right.
Do you feel the pressure to grow your business, but doing so feels a bit like drowning? Welcome to Slow Growth Business, the show for business owners and leaders to quiet the noise and lead your business to success, one day at a time, slow and steady. If you feel your business is running you and you're ready to run it, you've come to the right place. Now, here are your hosts, business coaches Jimmy DeGroot and me, Kyle Bullock.
I own a business and I want my staff to all do something. And I want them to do it all the time. So, for example, you go to Starbucks and they say, well, can we get started for you today? Go to a local C-store around here and they say, we'll see you next time. They say it every single time. And they ask for, hey, do you have a rewards card? And so that you punch in your rewards number. So they've all got that habit down. The thing is, and I've always had a problem with this, with trying to get people to do something every time to improve the customer experience, but also to give us, maybe it's some metric or it's push some product or remind people of something. What would be a good practice to hone it down to get them to do every single time?
Well, let's take the customer service experience one. In a recent episode, we
All right.
talked about gathering Google reviews, especially with people. Now let's turn to
That's a good
people who work for you, right? So you're not always at the
All
front
right.
counter, but you want your staff to collect Google reviews or ask for them, right? And we've both
Yes.
seen in training, people go in and they go, okay, all right, team, we're going to collect Google reviews on everyone. So make sure you ask everyone for the Google reviews. And then it happens like a couple of times, then people stop doing it and then no one does it again. And it just like isn't happening, right? It frustrates us as we look at it again. We go, well, why is anybody doing the thing that I want them to do? Off the cuff, I'll say
That's a great
things. A couple things on something like that when you have people. Typically, when you give somebody a policy to follow or a procedure to follow, and you give it to the front line and they go out to work it, one of the first things they're going to notice is how it doesn't work. It's going to fail in some way. And they're going to be aware of it because they're the ones in the front line. So they're ones getting shot at first when it fails.
Sure.
Okay, so they say the words, "Did you leave a good review?" And the person looks at them and is like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they don't leave a review. Doesn't do anything. Felt awkward. It felt clumsy. They didn't know how to address it. Well, they didn't get to really practice it. It's not going to work. They felt yucky about it, and then they just don't want to do it again because who wants to do something that they felt yucky about the first time? It's embarrassing.
Sure. Absolutely.
So when you put a policy in place, one of the first things to expect is that it will not work. Your job as a leader is to find out how it won't work. I don't care how much you plan this thing to go or how well written the policy is. Someone on staff somewhere is going to find out how it's not going to work. And usually they're going to respond with either, "Ooh, I hate that," or "I'm just going to ignore the policy and not do it." I don't know. The first thing that I'm looking at is, okay, let's enact the policy. I want to find out how it doesn't work. That doesn't address your question, which is, how do we get it to work? I just set that, I think, set the tone.
I think you got to start there. Sure.
Yeah. It sets the tone of, I'm going to expect things to not be perfect. Even if it was especially if it was my idea. It's not going to be perfect. Be curious. This is something that we've talked about, Jimmy, and you can expand on, is the idea of set it up in writing. Write down the policy, write down the procedure so that anyone walking along can see it written down and know this is how this thing is supposed to work. Have a reward and an incentive for doing it. Tell me exactly what it is that you want me to accomplish. What is the goal of this whole thing? And then tell me when to do it and how to do it. So we call them recipes. Give it how to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the goal? I want reviews on the website, or I want reviews on Google, so many a week. That's the goal. And if we can achieve that, here's how I'm going to reward us. Set that up, all of that in writing, then train that for the team, then be curious. And if you're curious on how things will not necessarily work, you can follow along with it and go, okay, how do I coach you towards the goal? What's not working? How do we massage this? But let's not give up on this, because at the end of this, I want you to be rewarded. I want us to all be rewarded for how this thing works.
Mm-hmm. What point do we need to reward them versus give them a paycheck? You know, the response I would always get from people is, that's what I pay them for, to do what I tell them to do. Why do I need to give them a reward? You know?
Yeah.
But my response, should I answer it?
Yeah, go for it. Please.
I'll answer it quickly with my response is, if we want them to do something differently than what they're doing currently, it doesn't have to be $500. It has, it could be a movie pass. It could be an ice cream cone, for crying out loud, some fun little incentive, just something to put it in their brain to change the program that's there already.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That would be my thought.
Yeah. The only thing I could add to that is I think you're spot on, is if it's just part of the regular job description, then yeah, just have policies and procedures and teach people how to do it. If you're trying to change behavior, it doesn't have to be forever either. Like, the reward doesn't have to be forever. Here's a case in point that came to our door recently: discounting. The staff has a bad habit of discounting a lot of things. We got to stop the discounting process. What do we do about that? Well, we got to put a policy in place. We got to tell them what we're going to do. Here's our limitations on discounting. Okay, so the policy, the goal, here's how little we want to discount, et cetera, et cetera. So we lay it all out, write it down. But also reward it. If we can get our discounting down from from 30% of every job that we do down to 10% of every job that we take in the next month, then I'm buying everyone dinner. You only have to do that one time, because now we've set the standard. Like, we've set the bar here. We know we can do 10%. Yeah. Could we do 5%? Right. I'm not going to reward you for doing something you've already done once. Not everything that you want people to do has to carry with it an ongoing reward. Sometimes just one really good attaboy is all you need to get to coach people to the next level.
So the reward is for changing a habit or developing a new habit, so to speak. I like that. You don't have to be stuck in that forever. You brought up the idea of Google reviews. It's funny because I think there's a very, how should I say this? I think people don't truly understand the greatness of a lot of Google reviews. If I could go up to every business owner and shake them and look them in the eye and say, get Google reviews, every single customer every day, I would, because it would help the business so much. You and I just recently were looking up a business, and the most in a town for this particular business was 55 Google reviews. Okay.
Not for this business type. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. This is how people shop nowadays. This is how people find you. I would do everything I could. That'd be the first thing I would do if I took over a new business. When I take over a new business, I should say, I'm going to get everybody doing right away. New habit, period.
And it's a standard. Asking for it. It's such an easy thing.
Yep.
There's sometimes the fear people have of getting a bad review, but you know what? Honestly, you're going to experience so few of those in light of how many good ones you'll get. People who have an okay experience typically will tell you that before they will. And there's ways to weed that out, right? It can be something that you incentivize at first. Like, if you're coming into a new acquisition, I'm going to buy this business and then I'm going to set this system up. But then this is just a culture. This is what we do. And then when the culture takes over, then the rest of the sales team tells all the newbies, like, no, this is what you do. Yep. And I'm going to do more than you. No, I'm going to do more than you. Yep. I'm going to do more than you. And then it becomes a cultural thing of success.
Yeah. So what you're saying is apply the metrics, analyze the metrics, let them know you're analyzing the metrics, build a system that is easy to use, in other words, set them up for success, whatever you want them to continually do, and then incentivize it. If you're watching it and incentivizing it and encouraging it, talking about it all the time in our morning huddles. Hey, this is what we did yesterday. We got 3 5-star reviews yesterday. Yeah, way to go, Robert. Those are the types of things that are going to continue on that habit. And then another thing that I would do, I'm always huge on, is what are the physical movements that people make when we want to disrupt that to develop this new habit. So we talked last time about a QR code. Where do we put that? Is that a sign that they turn around and actually run into? Or is it right there at eye level? Is it on the monitor, behind us? I don't know. But that's one of the things I'm always looking at. How do we make this as easy as possible for people to achieve the task that we need them to do?
I love that. Going back to my beginning, that reminds me, whatever plan you have is not going to work in some way. Like you're going to have some issue with it. So
Right.
just accept that's going to happen. The people who are going to figure that out, the frontliners are going to figure that out. That's why I'm also a big proponent of what objective you're after. If it's Google reviews, which is kind of where we've been hanging out on this, I want to get more reviews. Then your plan of asking every single person at the counter may not work because the frontline people say, you know what, it's just annoying people. They're hurrying, they're trying to get out the door. Well, then you can go, okay, well, the objective isn't to ask every person who comes in. The objective is, I want more reviews. What would you guys suggest we do to tweak this to get more reviews? And they'll begin to go, well, honestly, if you just gave them a card at the end, they'd probably walk out and just scan it. And you go, oh, that's easy. And now your team is going to take those awkward situations or the ways that it's failing. And if you remind them of the objective that you wrote down to begin with, then just ask them, hey, why isn't this working? I see that you guys aren't putting things out in the day the way that I wanted it. What's not working? And here's the objective we got to hit. What do you suggest we do? 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to tell you some pretty good ideas on how to make it work. And then it's their idea and they'll own it. Those are the best ideas when someone comes to you with something that was theirs and it works and they own it. And it's like, what a cool victory.
Right. In the particular case that I'm familiar with, I asked that question, why is this not working or what's not working about it? There's a gal that came up with a fantastic idea. Hey, that time between when we've rung it up and we're wrapping or we're bagging it or we are doing something mechanical, small talk seems to not be happening. Let's do this every single time. Hey, we're a small business and we rely so heavily on Google reviews to create success. Would you mind doing me a favor? If you've enjoyed this, would you give me a 5-star Google review right now and just tell them Jimmy's the best? That type of thing. And I'm not kidding, kind of verbatim. Feel free to use those words exactly. Because if they've had a great experience, they're going to feel comfortable doing that. That's actually not even small talk. You're doing them a favor. Kind of like the lady that last time we asked about the massages. Would you do me a favor? We rely heavily on reviews. Would you give me a 5-star review right now? Hey, I just got to go in the back and box this up. You can just scan this code right here and give them something to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a great suggestion, and it utilized a little bit of an awkward period. Hey, let's utilize this for our good and for a comfortable conversation.
Think in conclusion, if we could help those people who are like, how do I get people to do what I want them to do? I would sum it up this way. First of all, know what it is you want them to do. What's the outcome you want? What are you going to do when they do it? How are you going to give them an attaboy, a reward? What's my incentive as an employee to do what you want me to do? What do I get out of it? So define that, write it down, and then write down a system that you think will work. Give it to the people. And when it doesn't work, ask them for the solution. Hey, I'm noticing that we're not getting the objective. What do you recommend? And then have them give it to you. And then look at the timeline. Every week, just look at it and say, all right, let's tweak it. Let's tailor it. What do you suggest? And it creates I think what you just said is it creates a cool culture of camaraderie and team spirit. You're going to get great minds thinking about stuff together. And as long as they know the outcome in mind and what's in it for them, it's going to be a lot easier getting them to go to new places.
I got to throw this in here. Kyle and I have a platform called Train Retail. On that platform, there's over 670 sales videos where we're teaching sales techniques to your team, a whole bunch, and a new catalog starting of management training videos. A lot of times people really enjoy us telling them or starting that conversation rather than it coming top down. Believe me, we have very skillful ways of threading the needle so that the conversation is woven just how we want it to. But the end result is teams having great discussions about your sales techniques, your management techniques, moving positively forward every single week. So I want to really encourage that. That's at trainretail.com. And for as little as $99 a month for a weekly video for sales training, and then the management training is $200 a month. That's my little ad. I found nothing better as a tool to put in front of sales and management people to get them growing.
Love it.
Do we have to pay for that ad now? We're our own sponsors, aren't we?
You pay me, and then I'll send you back the money. I'll just take out the service
That's what we got going on right now.
And then we'll all give it to Caitlin at the end.
That's right. Caitlin gets the money. By the way, this podcast is produced by Caitlin. She is fantastic. If you want your podcast produced, give us a call. See if she's open to producing your podcast for a small fee. We'll see if she leaves that in there.
I hope you do.
We hope you leave this episode a little better than when you first began. If you'd like more resources to grow your business slow, steady, and consistently, check out our on-demand video catalog at trainretail.com. Or if you have a question or frustration we can help address in your business, write to us about it. We love to help solve big, ugly problems. So hit us up at kyle@trainretail.com or jimmy@trainretail.com. Good luck out there, and we will see you next time.